Dun, 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 dun. Do you like my bouquet? It's a parsley bouquet, and I'm gonna use almost all of this parsley to make a delicious filling for a festive, fantastic pork roast that you can serve for your holiday or really anytime you want because it's that easy. First thing that you wanna do is get 3 cups of washed parsley. I would say 1 really, really big bunch or 2 medium-sized bunches. Wash them, dry them. It's taking up my whole board. It's giving me anxiety. It looks like a ton of parsley, and it is, but it's the main ingredient for the paste that you're gonna make to roll up inside of your delicious pork roast. For this, you just need to shave the parsley off. You don't need to pick the leaves off individually. That would take a long time, right? But do remove most of the really big stems because you don't want it too chunky. Just give it a nice coarse chop. It's really not necessary to make it chopped at all, but it makes it a little bit more manageable. Smells so good. Philip, my cameraman, just said that. He's like, it smells delicious, and it does. It's one of the freshest, most vibrant smells out there. Transfer it to a food processor. Keep trying to tell everybody how great parsley is, but I don't feel like I'm getting enough converts. Maybe this will do it. And then 1/3 cup of golden raisins. That adds a nice little sweetness that's really unexpected. People are gonna be like, what was that? Golden raisins. A tablespoon of fennel seed. I'm just gonna chop mine up a little bit. It doesn't really call to in the recipe, but you know, I like to make things a little bit more difficult on myself. Scoop that up, put that in your food processor. 3 tablespoons of olive oil. 1, 2, that'll hold everything together. 3 cloves of garlic. You can give that a little bit of a chop too if you want to. It doesn't call to. I don't know why I'm doing all this. It feels like I should. And pulse it until a paste forms. Oops, she said pulse, and yet she did not pulse. Scrape it down, a little scrapey. I think it needs a little bit more. You see all those little pieces of stem? You don't really want that in there. Season it with salt and pepper. So what's happening here is you're getting like a little bit of savory sweetness going on. The parsley and the garlic for the savory and the golden raisin and the fennel seed for the sweetness, which goes really nicely with pork because pork really likes a little bit of sweetness. Now for the fun part. I have a 6-rib pork roast, bone in. It's festive, remember it's the holidays. You can also do this without the bone, but I think the bone adds so much flavor. I'm just gonna trim a little bit of the fat from the cap. I know some people like it, including me, but some people don't. So I'm gonna go halfway and remove about half of it. You could remove as much or as little as you want, but I'm telling you that the pork fat bastes the pork while it's cooking and keeps it nice and juicy. If you want your bones to look like this, all nice and clean, ask your butcher to French them. If they're not Frenched and they have the meat attached to them, that's cool too, because then you get to eat that part. Take your knife and cut right above the bones. I would say about a 1/2 inch from the bones. Cut down all the way along the side of the bone till you get about 1 inch away from the bottom. Then stop and angle your knife away from you and start slicing along. What you're trying to do here is opening up your meat like a book. So you just keep slicing along and unfolding until the entire thing unrolls. A little bit difficult to explain and really easy to do. Once it's all opened up, then you put your paste in here. And you're gonna get all this great flavor inside the pork. I'm gonna add a little bit of salt to the unpasted side and then spread the paste out evenly over the entire opened up pork. The cool thing about this recipe is that it looks like it's fancy, but it's quite simple. So then just roll your roast back up, enclosing the paste inside as a nice filling, and then you're gonna wanna tie it up. So you take some kitchen twine, get 6 lengths that are gonna tie between the bones. You wanna make sure that they get nice and firmly held together. So just take your twine, slide it underneath, bring it up over the top between each bone, and then tie it nice and tight. Don't be too worried about being ultra perfect here because you're just trying to enclose everything and make it cook nice and evenly, but if you're not like a fancy butcher and you don't know those fancy butchering methods, don't worry about it. Try to get it as tight as possible though. That's the most important part, keeping it tight. If you use a bow, then you can probably just untie it at the end, but you can always just cut it off anyway. That's just something I like to do. Transfer it to a nice heavy roasting pan. I like to go bone side down, fat side up, and then roast it in a 400-degree oven until it's a 145 in the center. Test it with an instant read thermometer. It takes about an hour. after an hour when it's done, take it out of the oven, out of the pan, and let it rest for about 30 minutes. You want to remove the twine, and with your French pork roast, it'll be really easy to cut right between the bones, and you'll end up with these really nice, thick pork chops. Super juicy and delightful, stuffed with flavor, restaurant quality but at home, and your friends and family are gonna love it. They will never know. They'll think, oh my gosh, you went to all that work, and only you have to know that you really didn't. Happy holidays.